Hey everyone, what can you learn in the next 21 minutes? We are here to find out. Hi, I'm Kiki L'Italienne, and welcome to the 21 in 21 Talks, where invited speakers share their 21-minute talks about all kinds of topics. And we're talking about everything ranging from beer brewing to building a business. If you can think of it, we're probably going to be talking about it. This series consists of 21 talks that are 21 minutes long, happening in, you guessed it, 2021. So speakers can choose to use slides. They can choose to forego them entirely. They can communicate in smoke signals. It's really entirely up to them. As long as they don't go over 21 minutes, the floor is theirs. All talks can be watched live or as replays on the Association Chat YouTube channel. This is where I'm going to tell you that if you feel like supporting Association Chat would make your dog or your cat love you more, probably will. So if you want to do that, consider becoming a Patreon patron by visiting patreon.com/association chat. Now, for this special 21 in 21 talk, we are talking to my good friend, Jessica Levin Sullivan. And Jessica is an entrepreneur. She's an association executive. She's a connector of people, author, dog and cat mama, wine lover, and she's still trying to figure out what she wants to be when she grows up. Pre and post pandemic, her hobby is hosting friends at her home with her husband. And today, Jessica is going to be talking about connecting people. So with that, let me introduce to you Jessica. And Jessica, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kiki. Always fun to chat with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the Association Chat viewers. When you asked about what can I talk about in 21 minutes, connecting people is always on my mind, and it's something I do. It's something I live by and breathe. But it is definitely looked a lot different in the last year, obviously. The interesting thing is that the last time Kiki and I saw each other was, at least for me, it was my last business trip. And we were at a show together. And, we actually spent a lot of time over the course of the days talking and sharing ideas and, who should we bring in to share our ideas with us, and just doing what we do. And then the pandemic hit and everything changed. And I know this is like the most ironic thing to say on a virtual program, but personally, I am zoomed out. I love those experiences. I love building the relationships in person, and just really that you never know what's going to happen in the moment kind of conversations. But, of course, the good news is that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're going to be getting back to some of that. But we're not here to talk about virtual meetings. But I mention this because the situation that we've been in has just changed the way that we've connected. And the thing is that there really are some fundamentals that whether we are doing virtually or we're doing in person, if you practice them, I believe that it makes your life better, makes your business better, makes your association better. Now, like from a marketing standpoint, for any of you that are in a marketing role, and this goes whether you're a business owner or you're an association, there's this traditional marketing hourglass: know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, refer. And I had pondered this, did it still apply in the pandemic? And the trust piece of it, I feel like that's the piece of it that either really sped up or really slowed down. And that because maybe some people needed to look somebody in the eye, or on the flip side, they had a product or service that people really needed. In terms of post-pandemic, I think we're all going to be shifting our behaviors. We all keep talking about this new normal, and I think it's going to slowly creep into our lives, and we're going to change the way that we interact and the way that we build relationships just a little bit differently. And I think trust is going to be something that people are going to look at just from a slightly different lens. Now, one of the things that I pondered, and this was a conversation I actually had with one of my association members. I was trying to get together with him. He happens to live relatively close, and I have not met him. And I said, hey, you know what? Now that we are coming out of this pandemic, we are both vaccinated, I would love to sit down with you just to chat. We can do it over Zoom, but there's just nuances that you get in person. And so we actually ended up exchanging a series of emails about this. One piece of it was that he was very hesitant, hopefully not to meet me, but about going back into the world and what that meant. And he also said something else that was very interesting. And he said that their pivot during the pandemic, shifting to value, providing more value, and not looking at geographic restrictions, but kind of opening up their market to anyone, resulted in more business. He used the analogy that, if you have an event, maybe you get 10 people at a luncheon, but you get 75 to 100 people on a Zoom. And so that it became more efficient. Now, I can't totally disagree with him on this because last year I was busy. I was really, really busy. And I was busy because of referrals. I won a lot of clients who I never met, and even now still have not met in person, but they all came from people who I knew, who I had spent time with, and who I had built that trust up with. And so this has me thinking, and by the way, this was a conversation that I had yesterday. So I'm really still pondering this in terms of connecting and building the relationships and how important it is to be in person or to be virtual. So there's not a right or wrong answer, but it is definitely something I'm thinking about in terms of changing style. But as I mentioned, well, one is, there's multiple ways to get to the finish line. And so I don't think that there's one right or wrong answer. And every personality is going to do things different. And every situation is going to be different. In some cases, you don't need to ever meet in person. You can do business, you can win members, you can do a lot of things. But in other cases, like I said, Kiki and I spent time brainstorming together because we were at an event together. And that is a lot easier to do when you're not constrained to a 30-minute block or to a 21-minute block. But in terms of the fundamentals of connecting, I don't think these change regardless of the venue. Likability. And you want to like who you're working with. Now, this goes back to that virtual in-person aspect. Like, how much can you learn to like somebody if you've never shared a glass of tea with them or a cup of coffee? Reputation, well, that's something that I think is pretty universal. Commonality. In terms of building relationships, what do we have in common? Is it music? Is it a favorite store? Is it a favorite brand? Is it a philosophy? Again, that is something that can happen virtually or in person, but you tend to discover these things more in person. And again, this isn't really meant to be anything about virtual or in person. These are just kind of my experiences, and I'm sharing how I have built relationships and just some of the things that I've been thinking about lately. Certainly authenticity and resourcefulness and value. And I think when you take all of those and you put them together, That's when you have a really good connection to another human being. But when we think about connecting, I think there's multiple schools of thought, and again, there's multiple ways to get to the finish line. I could spend a lot of time trying to form new relationships, but what I think a lot of people don't do enough time, spend enough time on, is building on the current relationships that you have. That means reaching out to friends who you haven't connected to in a while. And I use the word friends, frienders, people that you work with in any capacity, that you already know and like and trust. Connecting with the people that you know that are business butterflies. Those are the people who are already out there talking to people, building relationships. They are the connectors. Strengthening relationships with your clients and prospects, and strengthening relationships with inside your organization, rather than spending time thinking about who's the next person you want to meet. If you spend time on this, these people are going to help connect you. And I'm such a believer in this, that you get a couple good connections. And I've told the story over and over that I can trace so much of my business success to people that I can count on one hand, 5 fingers. And for those of you that are Seth Godin fans, and I know Kiki has had the privilege of interviewing Seth, he talks a lot about the tribe, and that's really what I was just describing. Is if you build your tribe, they are going to do the work for you. Now, very important, I want to point out that it's not just about, in fact, it's almost not even about your tribe doing for you, but really it's what are you doing for them? How can you help them? And the more that you invest in helping your tribe, the more that it will come out to help you. And I said, I can't stress this enough. It is how I live my life. It is everything that I believe in. So, in the vein of 21 and 21, I've kind of broken this down into 21 points. And one of the first point, these bullets, they all add up to 21 because I wanted to make Kiki happy, is the art of listening and then acting. As you are connecting, as you're becoming a connector, it is, again, so much about the humanity and much less about the business side of things. If you focus on the humanity, the business side comes. And that means if you hear that somebody has a kid graduating and you send them a card, how much does that mean to that person that you heard something going on in their life and you were there to celebrate it? If somebody's looking for a product and you see it, let's say you're in the store and somebody says, I have been trying to find this brand of lipstick, and you see it and you get it for them. What does that tell them? It says that you listened and you care. You share a passion or interest. Again, everything goes back to kind of listening to who the other person is and what they are interested in. And I'll give you a great example. This happened this week. A friend of mine and I had lunch, I don't know, maybe pre-pandemic, and I was drinking bubble tea, boba tea, and he had never heard of it. I actually had 2 of them. And the other day he sent me an article about a shortage of boba tea. And I looked at it and I thought, wow, like he really knew that I loved it. And I was sad that there might be a shortage of it. But that little gesture told me he listened and that he cared. Somebody celebrating a personal milestone. What do you get the person that has everything? I don't know. Name a star after them. I have a friend who does so much for me, just completely selflessly. And she loves Ireland. And I bought her one of those silly little Groupon things where you can own a square in Ireland. And she loved it. I think it gave her own like family crest. Those are the kinds of things that really strengthen relationships. If somebody's struggling, just being there to listen. And tying this back into business. If somebody has a business problem, it doesn't have to be a negative problem, just an issue they're trying to solve, connect them to another person who can help them solve it. So how can you become a connector? One is there's an immediate need. Somebody has a problem. I work with a lot of CPAs and lawyers. So if I hear of somebody saying, hey, I need an accountant, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to introduce them to an accountant. Then there's this gut feeling where you don't know why, but you know that two people need to meet each other. It could be because you think they'd be good friends. It could be that you think they have, and here's that word, synergy. You can't really explain it, but you get them together and let them figure it out. It could be the situation where somebody says, I am looking to meet association executives. I am looking to meet mothers. I am looking to meet people that are between 5'1" and 5'4". We're not talking about dating here. But if somebody tells you they are trying to meet a certain type of person, role, whatever, making that kind of introduction based on who you know. And then, of course, there is in the moment. You're at an event and you're talking to somebody you know and you connect them. The whole premise, though, is always thinking about who do you know and who can you bring together. And the more that you do this, the more that it comes back to you. Now, some people don't actually know how to go about this, and this is totally fair because every situation is different. And this goes to, are you making an introduction or are you reaching out to those people that you haven't spoken to in a long time? Is a phone call appropriate? And I know we live in this weird world now where, you have to make a reservation to make a phone call, but sometimes you can just pick up the phone and call somebody and it's nice. Even a random text, hey, thinking about you, or hey, I saw this and I thought that you might be interested in it. Social media, whether it's a shout out, whether it's a personal message, notes in the mail, people still do this and it's a beautiful thing. It's a surprise. It makes you stand out. Or even like a recorded message, right? So rather than sending a text, you just record them a little voice memo. Hey, just thinking about you. Hope you're doing well. Sending them a gift, making a donation. Maybe it's something happened in their life and you're doing something to commemorate a loved one or just an organization that they support. Or of course, being in an event and making it a point to either reach out to somebody you know, or again, if you see somebody who maybe doesn't know as many people. Some of these things feel really fundamental, but I think the big thing that sometimes we forget, and especially when we've been isolated, is that you have to be intentional about it. And it's so easy to go about our day and so easy to get lost or feel like that desperate feeling that you always have to try to win new business or recruit new members. But if you just take a minute to really invest and appreciate the relationships that you already have, a lot of that magic happens on its own. So here is the secret. One is connect with intention. And when I say this, I mean waking up every day and saying, like, who am I going to talk to today? Who am I going to bring together every single day? And it doesn't have to be onerous, right? You should, like, Kiki said to me for the session, I want you to have fun and I want you to enjoy it. Like, this should be fun for you. Just talking to the people that you already know, the people that you like, or helping them. And being authentic in it, not reaching out to somebody, offering to help them because you really want to ask them for a favor and you're doing it under the guise of helping them. People can see through that. You really want to be authentic. And again, that, like, living this mindset of who can I help? That is so much about what being a connector and connecting people is. And so I know we started out talking about this virtual world and the in-person world. I personally said I've built some great relationships in the last year. I have a bunch of clients even pre-pandemic that I've never met, but in person. But I feel like I know. But the being together piece of it is something I'm really, really looking forward to, because I've built these relationships with people that I do know, like, and trust, and I hope that they feel the same way. So as a connector, I am always here to offer to help you, to introduce you to somebody, to help you navigate, to listen, and I hope sooner than later to sit down, have a glass of wine, and really get to know you. But in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me, and would love to chat.
I love this. It was so wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us on Association Chats 21 and 21 Talks. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And everyone, I hope you screenshot her information and you get in touch with Jessica. She is remarkable in so many ways. And I know that this could have been, she's very knowledgeable in many different areas. So this could have been a talk about so many different things. But if you want to find out more, please also check out her book about connecting people that you can find on Amazon or any of your favorite places to purchase books. So Jessica, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, Kiki. And I hope we get to connect in person really, really soon.
Oh, it's going to happen. This is something that's meant to happen, and it will happen very, very soon. Yes, we are both vaccinated. We've had all of our doses. So very, very good. And, I hope that everyone's learned something from our time today. Look, first, I want to say thank you to Jessica again for sharing your 21 and 21 talk with all of us. I really hope that for everyone, they've taken what they've learned. They've now become, 21 minutes smarter about connecting people than they were before. And so if you're watching this, I want to ask you, what are you going to do with that knowledge? What are you going to do now that you've heard a little bit more about connecting people? I hope that you'll be thinking about your own connections. You'll be thinking about the ways that you can help connect one person to another. And I hope that you're going to keep asking questions, because at Association Chat, the one thing we're always saying is that you should keep asking questions to learn every day. Because as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Have a great rest of the week, everyone.